I'm going to demonstrate modifying a scan all the way through to completion. Further explanation of each tool will be available in separate videos. This is to illustrate the flow of the process as well as how long a typical modification should take. It would be clear to say that if you were spending a greater amount of time in modifying, possibly you were making too many changes to the model, the outcome would then begin to be unpredictable. Let's get started. So I'm going to load the scan, so I go load no preview. I'll place the scan on the desktop so it's easy to find, and this is the scan. This is the scan we've made with our scanner, but it could be an imported scan from any scanner. There's really no limitation. It could even be just an imported file. So the first thing I have to do is I just have to get rid of any noise. In this case, there isn't really a large amount of unnecessary points or external noise, as we'd call these little outliers. And if there were, especially if they were quite dense, it could affect the modification. These little ones will not have an effect, but I'll illustrate just cleaning them up, just so that we see how the tool works. So I could just go and draw, and just or I could use the crop box, where I could just go ahead and draw anything inside the red box is gone, or I could draw the outside of the model, and then hold down the control button and everything outside the box is gone. Once I'm happy I've removed all the noise, I then click on the move or rotate button. This is going to give us the alignment. I click anterior, and now this is my anterior view, so I need to get the model in the correct position for the anterior view. Now let's look at it from the medial, which is looking pretty good. So as far as alignment goes, this white line through the screen, that's the center. So we need to make sure the model is centered over this. Let me move it over. So we're trying to center the model over this white line here on the screen. So I just grab the arrow key, move it to the center, do the same thing in the anterior view, and that's pretty good. And then I just say create model. A model has now been created. If you were using a scanner and it's possible that the points were inverted, it's just a little reminder to check in case you need to rotate it upside down or invert the model, mirror it so that your lefts are rights, because anything from this point onwards would then be useless if the model was inverted. The other thing that I do when I scan is I place these little markers on the landmark. I place them so I can easily locate them in a scan. It's an orientation thing, it had nothing to do with the scanner functioning or the scan itself. It's a purely academic thing that I do so that I can locate those landmarks easily. In this case, I can say add landmarks, and I can also say blend them so that little spot that I put there can be removed from the model. I then say that's a BK shape, and it helps to walk me through adding the landmarks. Mid-patellar tendon, tibial crest, end of tibia, and tibial head. And that is that, and then I say done. And I now have a model. It has the overlay, the color of the model. You can see I'm scanning over an Alps liner, so you can see that scan. But if I double click on it, or I say remove texture, I can see that this is the actual scan without any color on it. So what I like to do at this point is I always like to save each step as I go. So I'm going to just say save right here, and I'm going to save it not as AOP. I'm going to save it in the traditional Medico format, because I want to make sure that that format also keeps the notes. If you don't use the Medico format, if you use AOP, or if you have access to other formats, then you won't get the notes won't be saved with the model. Okay, so I give it a name. I say save, and so now my model is saved. So I'm going to quickly jump now into the modification process. Now, keep in mind that my focus in modifying is to be able to do a quantifiable, repeatable process. In other words, I don't want to just do it by feel, a little bit of fudging, a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of cutting, a little bit of adding, and saying there's my finished model. I want to do a quantified amount. I want to do what I normally do and what I know repeatedly gives me good results. So as I go, you'll understand why I'm doing keep that in mind, why it helps to explain why I'm going through each step. So the first step is I'm going to just use the multi-tool. I'm going to just click on a single line here. I'm going to click on the model and I'm going to trim off the top because there's no need to have the excess of the model. The rest of the alignment looks quite good. I might give it just a little bit of alignment. Okay, and I'm going to click on anterior and check that. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to say done. And that's the end of that. I'm now going to move on to the modification. I have the blend radius set at maximum. I'm drawing normally, and I have it set on normal, and I'm going to just select a large size, somewhere around about 14, I think. And I just go on the model, draw once. I'm holding the control key. Two fingers touching the mouse pad at the same time, so we've got a little bit of zooming going on. Let's just redo that with the distraction we had there. Control key. 1, 2. Wide there, good. Okay, and I like the 5mm bar, so 5. Remove that. Okay, now tibial crest. Okay, I like to put 2mm over the tibial crest. Just not a centered amount of 2mm. Okay. And then I like to put at least 5mm over the anterior distal. So this time we're going to actually watch it to make sure that we're getting it in the right place. So this is creating a little extra room. You can see I don't do this as a uniform modification. I keep expanding the area because I want it to be a little larger in case he drops into his socket. There's going to be room and he's not going to land up striking the anterior distal end and being in a lot of pain. Just a little more. Oops. Okay, we will have it done. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Okay, now some interosseous pressure. So and then just move the modification to the opposite side. 2. Okay, let's do some proximal femoral compression. Same approach before where I use the erase. Okay. Now I'm not really thinking I'm going to have a great amount of suspension here. I just want it to be nice and neat. And I want to put it on the other side as well. Less on the lateral, of course. So that kind of takes care of those options. Finally, fib relief. It's not uniform, so I don't want to apply uniform modification. I also want to allow for the tracking of the head of fib. Okay, right now I have 2mm on there, and I think I want it just a little larger, just in case, once again, if he drops in, I just want the relief to be sufficient. So, that's to 4. I'm going to remove that, and I just want to create a little posterior in case the head of fib moves posteriorly. We sometimes see it happen, and I don't want to have to have any pressure there after the stuff is made. So 3 millimeters over there. I think that pretty much does it. I click done, and we're pretty much in a good place. So my next thing to do here is to apply some compression. So I'm going to do it by percentage. I'm going to do -7. Apply that. Done. And finally, I'm going to go and put in, after following the compression, I'm going back into the modification tool. I'm going to look at it from a lateral. Looking quite good. 1, 2, 4. Posteriorly, and I'm going to just put on a posterior shelf, which I'm going to put on the draw straight option, so I don't have to worry about keeping my mouse so still. Just move it up and down. I'm going to erase again. Okay. I just put it back in normal drawing mode. Okay. So I'm just drawing the shelf. Now, as you know, that MedicoSoft does allow us to create templates of all these modifications. The amount of time that it takes to do this, it's just a couple of seconds. Not really a big deal. I'm going to quite like that. Okay, I click build flat, and I click grow. Okay. I actually think that that's looking pretty good. And maybe you want to just take off this little edge that we see here. It's a little too sharp there. So to do that, I'm going to just use full. I'm going to fill it in a bit there. Just to take that away, a little blending. Just smooth that little gap, because I don't want it to be a sharp edge from the modification. Everything else is looking quite nice. Let's have a look at it. Okay, maybe a once-all cleanup. Good job. And that's the end of the blending. And finally, I'm going to add a cylindrical disc. I need it to be 5 centimeters, and I'm going to put 0 because I'm going to put a dummy on top of it. Apply it. Let's check the alignment. Let's move it anteriorly. So just get it nice and centered, thinking of the center line through the model where the pin is going to travel, so it can be engaged in the pin quite in a lock quite easily. I'm going to say that that's looking, maybe I'll move it a little bit lateral. Just a little bit, not too much. Otherwise the pin will have trouble engaging. Right there, perfect. Okay, at that point I can just apply a little blending to this edge. And that is the completion of my BK modification, ready for fabrication. And most important, and of course last but not by any means insignificant, is saying save the model. Missing this step makes us all cry a lot, because afterwards, what do? So click save, save as, give it a name, like something like check socket, and save. And now we have a model completely modified, saved, ready for fabrication. You can email it, you can send it, you can upload it, but it's ready to go. Thank you very much for watching.